Great. Then we are going to start. I'm going to first hit my record button, and we are officially recording. And then I'm going to go into the Remarkist app so that I can start that time code that I just mentioned. And the name of this episode is The Lorelai's First Day at Yale. And like I said, man, oh man, we better be going to Yale. All right. Everyone who's been here before knows what we're doing next. If you're new, get your remote ready. We're going to press play at the same time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, you just learned the meaning, John.
I didn't understand that. I just heard it.
Just wait. Just wait. When she was waiting for Lorelai, I got pilot episode flashbacks of those little shorts.
Is Trix in this episode?
I don't remember, and you're not allowed to ask us stuff like that. Come on.
I'm just basing it off of the title of the episode.
No, she's not. Nope.
Oh, hey, that's from the opening titles, right? That little shimmy that she was doing.
Yep. Classic. Yeah, I use that GIF a lot. Same.
I didn't get the copper boom thing. What?
Okay,
did I miss
so the whole basis of Copper Boom is when Lorelai was upstairs, Rory was going on and on about how does she have this many beauty products when it used to be like a dash of mascara, copper tone, zip bam boom at the door, and all Lorelai heard was copper and boom, and then it'll make a lot more sense later.
Oh, there's more to come for this copper
Yes.
boom thing.
Am I an idiot because none of the people they mentioned at the end have any reference to me whatsoever? Like, I have no idea who they're talking about. Who's alive?
Lady Bird Johnson was
I know Orson Welles.
Lyndon B. Johnson. No? Yes? No, yes.
Is the first lady.
Okay. I was just making sure.
But she was alive at the time, and I think Pat Summerall was also alive. Lady Bird Johnson died in 2007. That would be me on stick. I cannot drive a stick.
That's funny.
I love driving standard. It's a dying art form. I miss driving a stick shift sometimes. I would be too. I love that truck.
Uh-oh.
I always say that I'm going to try making that, and then I never do.
It's really good.
Never noticed her middle name is Diana.
Oh my gosh, no.
I've heard that one before.
Show business joke. I'm unclear what he's being sued for.
All he wanted to know is where can he sign for the divorce so it could be over.
He's not being sued. They're just going through like a mediation for the divorce, like essentially what assets,
Right.
each person gets.
Oh, okay. That wasn't clear.
We're at Yale, John.
What's up?
I said we're at Yale. You should be so happy.
Oh yeah.
That never happens.
I have a funny mattress story to tell from when I started university.
So this is orientation. This is a Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't say LG, because technically on the paperwork, wouldn't it all have said Lorelai?
Maybe she gave him her nickname.
So that other room was like more the common area for
Yeah.
a grouping of rooms.
Correct.
A common area, yeah.
Yeah. This is her sleeping area.
And her desk.
I would have lost it within 5 minutes.
This is great. I really love this. I love the tone of all of this.
Was anyone else here in RA?
Nah, I went to a
Nope.
community college.
I was in RA. It was interesting.
I just love that the campus ID for the email is optional because it's 2003. My ID was something similar to that.
I find it funny that Rory didn't like try to say hello or anything either, but they're leaving it up to the other girl.
Yeah, and it was actually her birthday yesterday.
I find it weird that she didn't take the bed next to the window.
Would she be like famous if she was 16 at Yale?
Probably not. I know someone who was at Berkeley at 14 and wound up at Yale for her PhD at 19.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad went to college at 16. He went to Columbia at 16.
Now it's post-secondary, everybody goes, well, lots of people go to college at 16. Regina says that the Unabomber went to college at 16.
So we should be scared of Tana?
Sorry, he specifically went to Harvard.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Hence my
I
tea.
love Copper Boom.
It's cute. It's catchy too.
Now you have to use it all the time.
Why are the partners dealing with a divorce?
So silly.
I was gonna say this is just such a just so writer, like Hollywood writers, just having fun with like with just tropes.
Because in the railroad, they would just have a dissolution because they agreed to everything, and this is silly.
Right. Or an annulment too. I'm assuming they were impaired when they got married and never consummated. I don't know.
Rachel, why would you be called a defendant? Is that common that you're called a defendant in like something like this, where you're just dividing up assets in a divorce?
I mean, yeah, because if she filed, then the other person could be referred to as defendant, but you typically wouldn't refer to the other spouse as defendant. That's kind of gaslighting right there.
Got it.
I absolutely love that line.
No, who's the guy at the register? That's what I was just thinking. Is that a new Caesar? No.
No,
I've
no.
never seen it before.
Caesar is now officially Caesar.
Oh, I know. I was just joking because everyone hears Caesar.
Yeah, he's had random other people work for him.
How come Kirk never works there?
The one job he
Do you
didn't
think
have.
Luke wants Kirk to work there?
Luke
I
would
know.
never have that.
Luke would never let that happen.
Kirk would poison everybody.
Maybe these guys are just like paying off their lunches or something. I think it's because he gets through them like crazy.
I never see that rug ever being used.
Yeah.
Did anybody else notice when they panned away from the car that the car is not a stick shift? It's an automatic.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Took me a couple years to figure that out.
Check out the steering wheel the next time somebody's in the car.
That reminds me of the scene from The Princess Bride when they're arguing over who's going to drink the potion or whatever it is.
It's also like a who's on first type deal. But I like the Princess Bride reference.
She's not gone.
Uh-oh. There you go, John.
Oh yeah. What?
I'm amazed you didn't see it from PG. I'm amazed you didn't say, "Hey, that's Paris Hillis."
I didn't.
You didn't expect it?
I didn't expect dorm mate.
Karen. I like her shorter hair.
Her hair when she did How to Get Away with Murder, I adored.
I love that.
That's not Tana's surname, though.
It begins again.
By the way, I had no idea. What Olivia played on the show. I just knew her from Fan Festival, so kind of cool.
Wait, who's Olivia?
Tana?
Oh,
Tana.
you say Tana like I'm supposed to know these things.
Is that the last we see of Tana?
No.
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 Okay.
My daughter recognized her voice from Last Airbender.
What are they supposed to do with the mattress? Are they supposed to store it to the end of the school year?
No,
There
they
are
don't make
special
arrangements to have it picked up.
So the mattress she brought stays with the dorm?
Probably.
No, it's just that the school's mattress needs to go into like storage or something.
It should be fumigated.
very coincidental, isn't it, that they got this, that they were dorm mates?
No,
No,
Paris said her father.
No, Paris said that she arranged.
Ah, okay, I missed
Yeah,
that.
Dad made a call.
I love the old Paris is still in there.
Never far behind.
I really like this character, this life coach guy. Oh, no, this scene got me a little emotional.
I'm with you on that one.
Such a milestone.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I really couldn't wait for this, because it just feels like a huge, huge new chapter in the larger story.
I'm 48. I still want my mommy.
I do sometimes too.
Same. This is so sweet.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, imagine she had chosen Harvard.
This happened to me my first day at college.
My daughter's filling out applications now. It's freaking me out.
Seeing as Lorelai is out of a job right now, like this is a lot of food and a lot of money.
God, I was thinking like at the end it's like $1,000. So much.
Well, like we mentioned before, there's no concept of money or time in this show.
I think that she was probably expecting to spend some money on Yale, even if they got financial aid, and now Emily and Richard are covering it. But we'll get to that.
That's like $200 in pizza right there.
This is so Lorelai, though, to do something fun like this, even if she doesn't have the money. Like,
Yeah.
Totally.
that doesn't matter. What matters is the memories and the experience.
They got all the pizza from the same pizza place, though, and they were supposed to be trying different places.
Maybe they got different pizzas.
I was about to say maybe they ordered a different flavor from a different place. Only Paris.
Was that the same girl who was rude to her in lineup while waiting for the photo?
Yeah, that was.
It sure was.
Food.
I think I'm getting a little tired of the mean girl trope. I hope that we don't have too much of that in the Yale world.
Of what?
The mean girl trope, you know, like the girl in line.
Well, it's a very high school thing that I think people kind of fall out of when they go to college. For the most
I know,
part.
but we had it a little bit in the line, in the orientation line.
Yeah, I know.
It is the first day of Yale, right? So there's still high school mentality in their head a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, they're young girls still.
I think Rory had more of a
I love that exchange.
Spanish
I
accent.
do too.
I was gonna say Lorelai's French accent was like pretty decent, and then Rory was just like, "That's
Well,
not
Rory's first language is Spanish, isn't it? Isn't that what they spoke at home?
yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would make sense then.
I love that Lorelai spending the night.
All right, everybody, let's howl.
I love that she was supposed to return. Okay, no howling. So much for returning the truck back to Luke at 7.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that she called and said it's going to be 7, but 7 a.m. My Greyhound is staring at whatever that sound is.
My dogs are too. Mine are all used to all the Gilmore Girls sounds on the TV. It's like they know that it's like time to be quiet and watch.
What was that establishing shot of the outside of Yale? Was that an establishing shot at Yale, or was that somewhere else in Los Angeles?
I have no clue.
I think it is Yale. I'm pretty sure it is.
It just looks like an establishing shot that they went somewhere and got. Like, it doesn't look like something that we'll ever see actors in front of.
They definitely showed one earlier, and it was actually Yale for sure.
I'm liking Rory's shirt today better than
I was just
Red
thinking
one.
that I really like this shirt.
red with blue eyes doesn't always work. Like Lorelai forgot she has her own garage.
The band is in the garage.
Yeah. The band needs the space.
It could be sound dampening.
Rory's room is empty now.
Well, that was
From
a
the
weird
Yale
cut.
tag and
That was a
change
weird cut, by the way, because she started turning around and then they cut. She was already completely turned around.
That was a Luke scene from the intro sequence.
It sure is.
Absolutely.
See, they weren't so mean.
My favorite Lalas.
I know.
I get teary every time I hear these ones.
Oh, this is very it was emotional.
Sniff, sniff.
I'm not crying.
Yes, you are. Welcome to Couch, the cruxes of season 4.
Oh my goodness, that was a
You
good
got your-
episode. That was a really good episode. I loved it.
And if you think that's good, just wait for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just really excited to get into this world. I just really love this world. Hold on, let me open up the couch.
So I think that when we said last night that it didn't feel like last night's episode was a
It didn't feel like the
Didn't
season
begin it.
premiere. This one felt like
Yeah.
more like a season premiere. Yeah.
And I think that's probably why the previously on is on this episode. Like it's almost like they were trying to like finish up last season with yesterday, and then this is like the brand new.
Right, like they were like, gosh, we didn't have enough episodes last season. You know what? Why don't we just do the first episode as the last episode of the season?
Like, did they do it
Have
double?
some- maybe have some-
That's what I said yesterday. Yeah.
Well, here's something that I was thinking. You know, when we were at the ATX festival, I remember that fans asked Alexis about Copper Boom, and she was unclear exactly what Copper Boom meant. Does anybody who was there was anybody there at ATX?
No, but I've watched
remember
it on
that.
YouTube a couple times actually.
A few of us have actually asked Dan Zimmerman, and he had no idea either.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because I think it's pretty clear where it comes from now. I mean, I completely get it.
I think this is one of those things that the fan picks up on and like highlighted.
But that like, okay, so had I not had you here with me, I might have also missed that little bit.
Yeah, if you hadn't had
Right.
the reference of it from the past and like known that it was something that
It was such a big thing. Yeah. Or like, or Oi with Poodles already. Right?
True.
I mean, that one is literally,
Love
I
that
would
one.
actually say that one's an even quicker reference, because that one like is just one line in one scene very early in the series. Whereas this one is kind of like, you know, it kind of spans two different scenes, and, you know, I would imagine this one would be harder to forget.
But it's not like I don't want to ruin it, but it's not a phrase that like is constantly repeated. So for the actors who were trying to memorize, or the writers who've written pages and pages and pages, it may have been just a reference that was like passing because it doesn't keep coming back to them.
Yeah. No, I got that. I'm just more pointing it out. I just think it's interesting, more than anything else. Just funny things that like are very important to fandoms that the actors will most definitely miss. Like, you know, I'm gonna be honest. Like when Sabrina, you know, even before we started this whole project, and you and I were like chatting about it, and you brought up wink winkers. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it took me a second. Like, I had to be like, I don't know what she's talking about. Wink winkers.
Yeah.
And you're the one who brought it up.
on the couch.
Well, I mean, what's up? The couch is open, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it is.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
open. It is.
Oh, no,
open.
it is.
It's
Oh,
all
okay.
down.
It's open.
Anita,
It is. I mean,
so confused.
so
I remember.
yeah, I mean, I just remember when you first mentioned it to me, and I was like, it took me a second. I was like, okay, that's definitely something I should remember. And I was like, what is it? And then I was like, oh, I think it was something that I said, or Todd said, or something, and Luke's, you know. And then I just used you mentioning about it to get it. But, you know, by the time we started this, by the time the watch started, I knew what it was. So obviously I've been talking wink winkers, like, and I've known what they've been for a while. But it's just an example of like how there are lots of things that you probably know about the band or other characters that, just in this case, the band, that I probably don't know. Like, it's probably just something that I like that means something to you, but like it was just such a small line that it just went past me. Although there are a lot of them that I still remember. I remember like eating pizza off the floor. I remember the $3. I remember Ken Burns, Bender, you know, a lot of that like little stuff. But there's probably stuff in there that I don't.
Are we doing spoilers right now?
Oh yeah, sorry. sorry. Yeah, but I mean, that's not really total spoiler. Nobody knows where any of that comes in. All right, so where do we start? This was a really fun episode. You know, for me, like the real meat of the episode was really kind of begins when Rory calls Lorelais to come back. That for me was like when things got like super interesting. And before that, it was more like just like entering this world. Wow, this is really cool. But that was the part that like really grabbed me. We could start there. We could start with Yale, or we could talk a little bit about the Nicole stuff first if we wanted to. I don't know.
Let's get Nicole out of the way.
Well, I wanted to say something before we start.
What's up, Tasha?
Okay, so with my tweet that I posted, I think it was like a few days ago, where I said, I can't believe we're halfway through the series. I reckon if we, like, that we could finish, like, end of August, mid-September. Is that kind of, like, where we could end if we keep going the way we are? Even with the hiatus?
Yeah, we're probably slated. We're slated to end somewhere, to end the full 7 seasons somewhere around the end of August, beginning of September. All depends on like whether or not things ever have to get slowed down a bit, whether they, whether they're I bundle things up and speed it up a little bit. But I'm imagining right now that it's somewhere around the beginning of September, end of August.
Would a year in a life be in a weekend that we would do it? Because it's only 4 episodes.
Yeah, are you gonna do those in full
know.
because they're
4 hours?
You know what? That could be fun. I mean, I think that could be fun to add it as a full week, and we watched over the course of a week. What do you think?
That'd be cool.
And then maybe we
Yeah, I like it. Long episode.
Yeah,
we would have to start it at like.
Yeah, we split the episodes in half because each one is 2 hours, right? They're 2-hour episodes, right?
They're an hour and a half.
Yeah,
about an hour and a half.
Okay,
Each of them are an hour and a half.
So we split them in half. That's 8. That's 8 episodes. That's eight watches. That's that's kind of like a little mini season of Gilmore Girls, and we could do that in a week. If that's what you all would be into, I'd be down with that.
I'm down.
Sorry,
I like that idea.
Have my thing in for a second. What are we talking about? Sorry.
So
we're just talking about year in the life, but we're
okay.
so far away from all of that. We can figure that out the closer we get.
Yeah, we still have
But yeah, I think that in general it's a good idea. I mean, I would love to extend this to like a little bit longer. Yeah.
I think we should start with the Nicole stuff so we can get that out of the way, and then we can have a lot of time to talk about all that stuff. But that's up to the group. Though.
Yay. I think so.
Okay.
So where should we start on that?
Billy Chatham and how?
Oh, I'd love to talk about Paris.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody really wants to talk about Nicole.
I'm sure she's asking.
Yeah.
Nicole sucks. Moving on.
Yeah, that scene went way too long with Luke, and it's like the first scene was too long, and then the 3 partners came back, and it was just so wasteful. Let's get back to Yale. Let's
Yeah.
I enjoy the banter. I think it's a different side of Luke we don't see very often when he's super irritable with people that he doesn't, interact with on a daily basis. So I think it's just like a fun little quirk for us that love Luke.
Personally, the whole glass blowing guy was very funny.
I think they purposely made it long because I think it's trying to send the message that this divorce is not going to be as quick as Luke wants it to be.
Oh, well, I will say that if that's the case, I'm already dreading the storyline because I'm in the camp of that was a little painful, like that whole thing around the table. What's that?
It was very painful.
Yeah, and so like I kept thinking like, man, is Nicole that horrible of a character why can't she just come over herself? I don't know. I mean, is that naive? Is that like completely like Rachel? Is that like just not the way it goes? I mean,
no. He doesn't want anything from her. It would basically be the easiest piece of paper to draw up where she takes what's hers. I mean, I'm sure they haven't commingled anything. They probably don't even live together. They don't have any bank accounts. It would be the easiest thing that she could draft herself, give it to him, and sign it and be done with it.
So I guess I'm wondering is this all a comedy of errors, or is this actually coming from her?
Is it a stall tactic?
Yeah,
I never got the
good
impression
question.
that it was coming from Nicole, though. I don't think
Yeah,
they
it's
ever
a stall
said
tactic.
that.
I don't
Or
think
is
she
it
could
a
draw up her own contract, 'cause wouldn't that be like a conflict of interest technically, even though they're getting divorced?
Not if he has somebody look over it. I wouldn't think so.
But he doesn't want anything. Yeah, I don't understand this because she doesn't, I'm assuming she doesn't want anything. So it just, none of this makes sense to me, to be honest.
A lot of it depends on your state, whether you have dependents, divisible assets. So there's more to it sometimes, depending on just signing a piece of paper and say, hey, we both agree. So.
But they decided to
Yeah.
get married and decided to get divorced before they even left the boat.
Yeah,
but
but
I
you still have to
wonder
follow
if
the letter
it's
of
the
the law.
people. Sorry, I was gonna say, I wonder if it's the people around her who don't believe that he is really going to say, "I don't want anything." So they're like, "You sit back, let us protect you. This guy might be a gold digger." Like, I wonder if it's more like being like, we have a responsibility here to make sure
it.
you are protected.
Got it. Hey,
Yeah, I
Charlie,
would have thought it was just gonna be a quick annulment, but no.
Charlie, you wanted to say something?
Yes. So I was gonna say, you'd think it would usually be an annulment, but also they were on a boat. They wouldn't have even turned in the paperwork to show they were married. Like, it wouldn't have even had to do anything. That's what my thought had always been on it. Is like, were they technically married? Like, were papers signed and turned into the courthouse? Because I mean, come on.
I think that I think that I might be able to sit with this idea, Mary, that like that they actually were like, we're going to protect you here, just step back, we've got this covered, and that like she didn't initiate this. This is not like some plan of hers to make this harder or I mean, because otherwise it really like is very confusing to me and makes her out to seem just absolutely horrible. But if it was just them being, her partners being like, we're going to handle this, don't worry, we've got this, we're veterans, we've done this before, you don't have to worry, it's going to be all great. And if they thought that maybe he was going to try and get something from her, because it sounds like she might have a lot that he, that they think that he would want to take from her, and maybe it was that. Otherwise, it just seems a little goofy, the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the writers would have made it more clear if we were supposed to be directing that frustration towards the Nicole character.
Well, I was so frustrated in the scene because of how like just it was. I just found the whole scene painful that like I didn't really know who to put to throw the blame towards.
I have a question.
Blame me. I'm usually blamed for everything anyway.
I'm not going to blame you, Zachary. What do you want to say?
It's more of a question. It could be this drawn out, and could it be such a production? Because didn't she actually work for a firm? Is it the same firm? Like maybe she's more vested in this, and she want to make a big deal about it.
Yeah, it was her. Those are her partners. That is her firm.
Okay. Yeah, it may be neither here nor there. Just it was a random thought. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, would it be totally legit? And this is for any of the lawyers, anyone who knows about this firsthand, would it be totally okay if she had just come to him and been like, okay, here's the paperwork, and here's what we're going to do, or are you supposed to completely stay out of it and let your representation do all that work?
She could have drafted something. I mean, he's saying to everybody, I don't want anything of hers. And that's pretty much an ideal situation for her firm. I mean, just get him to sign something that he doesn't want anything. He walks away with only what he came into it and be done with it.
Yeah, there isn't any reason. She I don't know how it is. It starts hollow or wherever,
Does he have anything? Does he have anything that could potentially be taken by her?
He owns the businesses, he owns the buildings, and he has assets.
Yeah, Nicole may make a lot of money hourly, but she may be in debt. She may have, some story we don't know about. And Luke has nothing but savings because all he does is earn money and stay in Stars Hollow, owns the building, so she could actually come out on the better end of this. And I simply wanted to say too, as someone who's filed for divorce, I was the petitioner and my ex-husband was the defendant, and we did like a very, like, we went into it collaboratively and everything was set and ready to go, but that was still the process that we had to take.
Oh, okay, so you had to have like legal representatives sort of going between the two of you.
Yes, we weren't allowed to do anything without each having representation, but we're in the state of Wisconsin too, and
Right.
you know, no fault state, and that changes everywhere. So,
Well, I mean, that's also a very good point. Like, it's like she makes a wage, but could have a lot of debt. And we know that he owns that soda shop building. He owns the diner. He seems like the type of guy that would probably have a savings. So I don't know. I mean, maybe should we be thinking, or should I be thinking, without much coming? Should I be thinking that maybe that this is like sort of sort of like a setup for something a little bit scarier for the Luke character?
John, what was the first thing I said to you when I saw Nicole on the screen?
You said yuck. Oh no, ick.
It's something to that effect. There are reasons why a lot of us do not like her.
Okay,
And you will-
but all right, then no spoilers.
I'm
no
not
spoilers,
getting
no
into it, I
spoilers.
promise.
All right.
But I feel like we're making too big a thing of this, though. I mean, we can't spoil it because we know what happens, but
All right.
I don't
Well, it
Maybe
was
we
definitely
pivot.
it was definitely not like, it was not one of my favorite scenes from the series.
no, it's very much filler for me.
But the Yale stuff was just so great.
It's
Um,
the F story, John.
It's the way.
The F story, beyond the C story.
Yeah. No, it's technically a B story. I mean, there wasn't a C story in this episode. I don't think.
I know.
Was there?
I'm just saying it's the worst part of the episode.
Right.
F story for failure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Yale.
Can we get into Yale?
Let's get into it.
All right.
Where do we want to start? Do we want to start?
I don't want to talk about Paris.
Shelley was flashing as well before we even started this.
Yeah.
I
so
was,
what,
I
so-
was just going to lend my expertise on going through the dissolution in Ohio, but I don't need to. It's fine. Go on.
where do we want to start? Do we want to start with orientation, or do we want to go straight to the meat of it? Do we want to talk about Paris?
Let's go in order.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Orientation.
her first arrival.
Right. So
Oh.
like when they first come out in the orientation, and just kind of like, let's
That
go with
scene,
it.
that scene really, like, for me, I just love the bigness of the world of that scene. All of the background talent, RAs like making big announcements, and sitting down and getting her picture taken. I just thought that they knocked it out of the park in terms of giving you that first day of university mood, because that felt like what I remember my first day to be like, approximately. Obviously it's been kind of exaggerated in bits. I mean, I don't think anybody took their picture like that, but I just really loved that.
So
I actually don't remember how I took my picture for my ID. I have no memory of that at all.
I didn't take I don't believe that I took my ID picture, to be honest, on orientation day. I remember where I took my ID picture, and it couldn't have been on, well, no, because I mean, I would have had the card that I used to get into my dorm, which was like
Yeah.
a swipe card, and that had my picture on it for sure. That had my picture on it, and yeah.
It was probably just so fast that we.
Yeah, I agree, John. Like, I think they like knocked the first day of Yale out of the park. Like, I think it brings everybody back, and that's why it's one of my favorites. Like, I love school. If I could just do school forever, that's what I would do. I was one of the people that loved the first day of school. I loved the excitement, and so I just love watching this episode because it just brings me back. And I'm like, yes, I want to be there again. And I
I
think they did. I think they did it justice.
It's funny because I actually feel I love it for the way that it brings you back, but I'm not somebody who really loved the first day of school. And I actually remember my first day of university as being very nerve-wracking and very scary and like, you know, and just all of that. And to me, that's what I responded to here, because I felt that from Rory. I felt like there's just all this stuff going on around you and just trying your best to sort of stay afloat, and you're, you know, you feel alone. Like that shot when she's like sitting there in her bed and she doesn't, you know, after Lorelai leaves, was just like, oh my gosh, I knew that feeling.
Yeah. But I think it's exciting and it's scary and it's overwhelming. It's all of those things, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Like you're excited, you're like getting away from home and like, you know, no parents, no rules, right? Which you think it's no rules, right? But then, yeah, it's scary too. So I think they did. I think they did the whole experience like justice. Like I think they captured it really well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Tasha, you wanted to say something?
Yes, please. Okay, so I know like when any show, like Boy Meets World or any show, does like college episodes, it has to be exaggerated in some way to make it like watchable and make it like what it is, right? Because when you see college on TV shows or movies, it's never like real life, right? And so I think Gilmore Girls kind of made it as realistic as possible. However, I remember my first day or like my first few days of college were a little different because Utah, at least the college I went to in Utah, we don't have dorms, we have apartments. So I went straight from my parents' house to an apartment. So I never had that like whole like RA or having like we obviously had roommates and I had neighbors and stuff like that, but I never was in a dorm, so I never had that college experience. But orientation for us, like taking pictures and stuff like that, it wasn't something like a big long line like that. And we had like a big like assembly, yes, but we didn't have like a huge thing like they did. I got my picture taken and I still have the card, and it's a little atrocious to look like because I was 19. But yeah, I kind of wish that like I kind of had that like whole dorm life experience, and people knew people all the time and things like that. But I did get an apartment right out of high school. So.
Fun. Carl, I see you flashing, but just before I get to you, I just want to say one quick thing that I was just reminded of in terms of all like the taking pictures and IDs. Something that Sean and I were actually talking about a couple of weeks ago when we were reminiscing about school, because of this podcast that this friend of ours has that I think some of you have heard about, called "I Survived the Theater School," which I've done an episode of it for her, and Sean is about to do an episode with her as well. We were just sort of chatting about that, and we were reminiscing about some of those early days, and he reminded me of the fact that we first met before we were even friends. Actually, we actually became friends a little like later in the school year, but in the beginning we just kind of knew each other just from afar. He was in the class above mine, but he would I let him borrow my ID to get into our dorm because he kind of looked like me and we kind of looked like each other. And he was in a class above mine, so I kind of wanted to make friends with like the upperclassmen, and getting good graces with them. I was like brand new there at the school, so I like gave this like guy who I didn't know my ID to like get into the dorms, because I think he liked a girl that was there in the dorms and he wanted to meet her or something like that. I can't remember the specifics, but anyway, just an interesting little story about Sean, how far we go back.
And did the guy do something bad, or did it go unnoticed?
Did what?
Did the fact that he used your ID go unnoticed, or were you guys caught with like, oh, there's an intruder?
No, No, he ended up using it. It was fine. Yeah, I don't remember anything weird.
I was expecting, John.
You were expecting that was going to be like a big. No, it was just a little memory that I have. No, they're not. Yeah, not all of it was drama. It was just little memories that we had. It was actually tied to a larger memory that we were talking about, where one of our closest friends, who I've also mentioned here, Lee Kirk, actually called me Jason for about half a year. Also, he was also in Sean's class, so he was also above me. And also, I wanted to I wanted them to like me. I wanted to be friends. So I never told him that wasn't my name. I just let him call me Jason for half a year, and then at some point, Sean and him were talking, and he's like, "Yo, that guy Jason," and he's like, "That guy's name is not Jason," and he's like, "It isn't. It is Jason," and he's like, "No, it's not." And he's like, "It is. I hang out with that guy all the time." And Sean's like, "Dude, He's like, dude, I've used his ID to get into the dorm. I know that his name is not Jason." And so then the two of them come walking up to me in like the common area, like really fast, They just walk up to me, and I kind of already knew what was going to happen. And Lee's like, "Dude, is your name Jason?" And my shoulders just dropped and my head dropped. And Lee was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I was like, I didn't want to, I never could, I didn't want to embarrass you. And freshman college students.
I just found my ID and I cringe. I mean, I don't look too terribly different, although I do have blonde hair now. But I look at it and it's like, someone not tell me what to wear? I mean, it was 2012, but come on.
Nikki was flashing, and I don't know.
Actually, Carl was flashing.
Carl was before me. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys. Well, just a little off tangent. It's like a quick quibit, just to let everyone know as we watch the season 4 going on. I learned a lot of stuff watching season 4 of Gilmore Girls, like the Scotties, the word misogynistic, a lot of things about Europe, like all the little things and the political movements and stuff like that. Like, I learned a lot. It felt very collegiate and academic when I first watched it. Just to say that. And just going off of like the first day of college, Lorelai's the first day at Yale. I love it. I was a little shocked to find out that this was filmed at Occidental College in LA, but because I really thought it was Yale. I was like, wow, Yale looks cool. It was in LA.
Can I just
Occidental College?
Can I just jump in and say I almost went there? Like, I was registered to go there, and then at the last minute I didn't go because my parents basically were like, "Don't leave," and then I stayed for a year in my hometown, and then I transferred to Tufts.
Oh my gosh. That was a little bit of a surprise, but just like going off of just the episode, I must admit, as a writer, I love that they brought Paris back. Like, that really warmed my heart. Yeah, it's just, I was like, yes, their story isn't over. Let's continue it. I know she's crazy with the glue and the macaroni, but I love it. And it was great. And I must admit, this episode with Paris, like nowadays when I watch it, because I work with kids who are who may have behavior issues or maybe in the foster care system. Like, some of the things that Paris does in this episode reminds me of the kids. I'm like, oh my God, does she have ADHD or something? I'd be wondering. But I love Paris. I love Tana. And it was just a really good first day. And I just also love the fact that Lorelai stayed with Rory and spent all that money for the food. It really just reminded me of how my mom was on the first day of college, or how she would have been if I asked her to stay. I knew she didn't have a lot of money, but if I begged her to come back, she would have driven 2 hours back from my hometown and would have bought all of the food around town to decides which one's the best pizza spot, which one's like a good Chinese food place, like who has the best donuts. Like she would have done that, and like that was a really relatable moment for me watching the series, because I could just totally see my mom doing that.
One of the things that, by the way, I just realized my mic wasn't muted. I hope there wasn't any background noise. That moment. Sorry about that. The whole like Lorelai leaving and Rory being like, that really resonated with me, because I do remember when, you know, my mom, I was raised by a single mother, and actually when I went to college, my sister is a dancer, and she went to the School of American Ballet in New York. And she went, dancers, you know, they kind of begin that life pretty early. So she'd actually been in New York for a few years before, you know, like while I was still in high school. So like my last few years of high school was just me and my mom. And so there was a little bit of that, you know, me and my mom came to Chicago and got me all set up there. And, you know, and then she left, except that, you know, the big difference is like she got on a plane. I couldn't call her back, you know, but I remember feeling that. And I felt, not just felt it for myself, I also felt it for her as well, because I knew she was going back to an empty home, like just a home with just her, you know, and so that was something that also landed on this moment, you know, with Rory, how much of it was about Rory being scared to you know, be without Lorelai, and was there any part of it with her kind of even unconsciously understanding that Lorelai is going back to just be in that house by herself?
It's so crazy. I didn't know that you were raised by a single mom too, John.
Yup.
All of a sudden, I'm feeling very melancholy.
No, man.
Oh no.
I'm sorry.
Nikki. Okay, well, I'll tell you a funny story then. So I didn't get the experience of having my parents bring me to my first day, because I went to school in Prince Edward Island, which is a plane ride away. So I just went out on my own. And because of the plane schedules, I actually got there a day before everybody else was arriving. And so when I got there, I swear, like, they were the exact same mattresses that Yale had, like the same stripes and, you know, stained and horrifying. But they also provided you with sheets that you could use if you chose to do so, which of course I did not opt to use the sheets. So I was told, you know, if you don't want the sheets, you just have to return them to the laundry room in the basement of the boys' dormitory. So I go down there to return the sheets, and there was a lovely lady there, and there was 5 beautiful new mattresses in plastic. And I was like, oh, how do I get one of those? And she was like, oh, you know what? Like, I don't know who put them here. I don't know where they're meant for, but she was like, if you want one, help yourself. Like, fabulous. But I'm thinking, how the heck do I move this thing? Like, I'm just here on my own. Anyways, another girl happened to arrive early because she flew in like I did. And so I wrangled her to help me get the new mattress and then get the old mattress back in the basement. And so, of course, then she wanted a new mattress. So we did the same for her. And then the next day when everybody started arriving and, you know, everybody's coming in and meeting and greeting, and they're like, where did you get the new mattress? And so suddenly I was like the popular person who knew where the new mattresses were, except that there was only 3, but that gained me some instant friends.
That's great. So you had a little bit of, you could relate to some of the stuff in this episode in that regard then.
Yeah, yeah.
I took my own mattress to my dorm in college, but we didn't have to call somebody to come pick the old one up. If you didn't want the one they provided, you just like leaned it up against the hallway and guys came and took them after move-in day was over.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't let us replace the mattress at my alma mater. They were very, very, very against it. So late at night, my family came with a new mattress, and we switched out at like 2 in the morning, and just like literally burned the mattress. We kind of committed a felony here, but I slept comfortably.
Am I the only one who slept on the mattress that was provided?
I did, Mary.
Nope, I did too. I did too.
Slept on the I also did. I just got a feather bed topper for mine because I was.
I also took it a step further because for those of us that traveled from afar, they had a storage room that we could keep our stuff in over the summer. And I totally stored my new mattress in there so that nobody else could get it.
Oh my God, yeah, like I totally would have slept on the mattress that they provided. I really didn't care, but there was like a huge hole in the middle, and I was like, this is not a mattress.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure that I slept on the mattress provided, although it's very possible that new mattresses were swapped out in the dormitory, and that was part of one of the fees. I mean, we had all these fees that we had to pay that were related to the dormitory, and it's possible that everyone had to pay for a new mattress that they then placed into the rooms. Very possible. Also, I happened to be in the dormitory that was brand spanking new. Like it was its first year. It was a new building. There were 4 different dormitories. One of them was like, just a dump. But the one that I was in was like just state of the art, really nice. But I didn't buy a mattress, so it either was part of the fee, or it was the same mattress that future people would be sleeping on.
I kept that mattress for my 4 years. It was there for me every September when I went back.
I was only in the dorms for 1 year. I left the dorm. I just did freshman year in the dorms, and then, for my next year, for the second, third, and fourth year there at school, I lived in an apartment. My first apartment, my roommate was Michael Muni, who I've mentioned before. He played Don Lamb on Veronica Mars. That's my first ever roommate. And I'd never had a roommate before. Or no, that's not true. I mean, I guess the dorm mate was my roommate as well. But like, that was my first like excursion out in the world, having my own apartment. And then I lived with Sean and Lee. I lived with them actually my senior year, and so the 2 years between that, I was living in another apartment.
Oh, I did 4 years because it was covered under my scholarship. So
wait, you were in the dorm
you're
for 4
going to
years?
stay there. Yep, because it was free.
There were some folks that did that because they got a scholarship, and so that was part of their scholarship. But I didn't get a scholarship.
Yeah, no, like I remembered in college, everyone stayed on the dorms because, well, we didn't have a lot of kids going to the college at the time. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that my alma mater was gonna close down for 5 years. We did not have a lot of kids on our campus. They kept leaving. Anyway, so everyone lived on the dorm all 4 years. And every time people was like, oh yeah, I got an apartment, and maybe going to universities and stuff, I started to think, like, did I go to the poor college? Like, where are these apartments? I want to live in an apartment. I want to like be with my friends in an apartment. Because they wouldn't let us leave the college campus because they had all these empty dorm rooms, and they're like, no, you have to stay in the dorm rooms. So yeah, I still love hearing stories of people living in the apartments, but it always reminds me of like the time when I was like, oh my God, like, do I go to a poor college? Is this impoverished?
semester in my dorms because I hated my RA and most of the girls on my floor. And me and 4 friends found a huge house and rented it the rest of the time we were in college.
Oh wait, I wonder if Rory is going to move into an apartment in a later season.
Oh my gosh, people, no spoilers, please. But no spoilers, but I mean, she should. I mean, I hope she does. No spoilers, but it better happen.
Such a troublemaker. You guys
No spoilers, but if she does not move into an apartment by the end of this series, I'm going to be very upset.
Now I went the dorms backwards because I transferred into my university my junior year, and I lived at home before that when I was going to school down here in the Twin Cities. So when I went to Moorhead, I transferred, and I lived in the dorms my junior and senior year because I didn't want to have to find a place to park because the winters up there are horrible. So I got a double as a single for 2 years. I got the same room both years, and I got to leave stuff in that room over the summer. So I was kind of backwards on that whole way of doing things.
I remember the dorms were just expensive. I remember the main reason why we left the dorms after that first year was that it was like we could find an apartment for way less, and we just did the calculation. It was like this is.
Oh yeah, you were down in Chicago though. I was up in the Fargo Moorhead area. If you know anything about that area, it's like a winter desert land.
Don't worry, John. Dorms are still expensive at university, so
yeah,
change.
Yeah. I mean, our apartment, that first apartment that we were in was so dumpy. It was like just a tiny little, just cracker box of an apartment. The bathroom was so small that like if you were on the toilet, your knees were hitting the door in front of you. Like it was just the worst. But
is that downtown Chicago?
It was.
Thank you for the visual.
What's up? What?
Thank you for the visual.
Sorry about that. But I mean, it was. But it was our apartment. You know, it was just like as our first apartment. It was cool. It was exciting.
It makes the memories of what comes after all the better.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say I hope that she gets an apartment, because I think that was the dorms were a really cool part of the world of university for me. But you know, a year was enough, and then there's just so much. But of course, I don't really know much about what the town around that really looks like, you know, around Yale. I'm not familiar with it. Is there like a lot of city around the university? Because like where I went was
Yale?
Yeah.
Yale is in New Haven, and it really is like the whole place very much caters to the university, because if you remember what Lorelais says about New Haven earlier, she says, check the bottom of the coffee pot before I clean it. That's New Haven. It's a pretty accurate description of New Haven. But the university and like the blocks around it, there's definitely a lot of like city that happens. Like there's, you know, it's very believable that there'd be all those takeout places like within that area. But it is very much, it does cater to the.
It's like it's a college town.
Yeah, but like you can easily drive through and like feel, and you can just like go to dinner like next to the campus, and it doesn't feel weird.
Right. Whereas where I went to school, it was very much like a college area of Chicago. So there was lots of like college campuses and lots of college buildings and whatnot. And the area of Chicago is very like, that particular area is really collegey, but it is really like smack dab in the middle of an urban center, you know. And
John, I was going to ask what area of Chicago, because I have a condo in Chicago.
Lincoln Park.
Oh.
Lincoln Park is where DePaul University is. That's where I went to school. I mean, and the DePaul campus is sprawling. It's huge. They also have a campus downtown, but this particular campus, like in the Lincoln Park area, is really big, and you know, just buildings everywhere. But sort of like it, it just as if a huge college campus just fell out of the sky and just landed in the middle of a
Neighborhood.
really dense urban urban area. Lots of little boroughs and hoods, and just like brownstones, and so yeah, just a lot of activity. The two universities I was looking at for going to for acting conservatories were DePaul and Ithaca, and Ithaca was the reason why I specifically chose DePaul and not Ithaca was because Ithaca was a little college town that felt like it was really mostly just for the university. It felt like what you're describing Yale to be like, and I just really wanted that city. I wanted to be in the thick of an urban center. I came from the suburbs of Miami, so it was so much more exciting for me.
I was just north of you at UW-Madison. That's how that is, where the city is the campus and the capital, but it's really just the campus.
So, John, did you want to talk about any more of the Rory and Paris stuff, or the party in the dorm thing, or anything like that? Or should we just keep going on? I'm good either way. I just wanted to ask before, because I realized it's 10:30.
Yeah.
Or 8:30 for you, but 10:30 for me.
The party in the dorm.
Yeah, let's talk about the party in the dorm. I have some time.
Lorelais just knows how to live it up. There's a lot of food they ordered, that's for sure.
I was thinking it's so fascinating that Lorelai knows how to do college better than Rory does.
I know she definitely so true.
Yeah.
She knows how to do like French fun and friendships and just like a good time. Where Rory, when has Rory ever done that in her life? Her mom has done it for her.
And she's just like this lovable cartoon character.
Lorelai has always been that outgoing person, the kind of people that are drawn to. So in general, even like when the boys are howling and she starts howling back at them, she is always the first person to join or to get the party started.
Yeah, that's definitely true. She's very good at making good acquaintances.
And the stakes are lower for her, right? Like, she's not trying to win anybody over. She's just being herself, and what happens, happens. Whereas when you're wondering how someone's going to think of you, you're a lot more self-conscious.
But she's also getting the opportunity to have her own first day at university, which she didn't get. And we get to see what Lorelai's first day at university may have looked like if things had not gone the way that they did, and she had gone to a school.
That's so interesting. I have actually never thought about that.
Yeah. I also thought that she was like so outgoing and stuff like that because she has a service job, so she's always talking to people and hanging out with people, and she's worked in the Hollywood hotel service industry. So I mean, by the time Rory goes to college, it's pretty much like she's an expert at socialization and persuasion.
I'm surprised. Did they get any pushback on the rating of the delivery drivers on a scale of 1 to 10? With how, had that been women and men rating them, it would have not gone over as well.
Good point.
Wait, say that again.
Maybe.
So when all the delivery drivers are leaving, they make sure and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 on, the food and then like the hotness of the delivery driver. And so Lorelai tips them extra and says, count to 10 before you leave, and then goes inside and says, rate him. And then all girls are rating all the
right. And had this been written with a bunch of guys in there doing that for women that were leaving, that we would all be, we'd all have something to say about that.
Precisely.
You know what? I wondered.
Plus,
when
I
that
think
was
the stereotype that all the delivery guys have to be men.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, I also thought about that very briefly. You know, and I don't think that it's a huge issue, but I thought about it very briefly when Lorelai was doing the kind of like talking that macho talk to Luke while they were walking from the truck to the diner. And I had a moment there where I also was like doing a quick reversal of that and what it would be like if he was throwing all of these like cliches about women, you know, about girly girls at her, how that would land. It's actually, this show, more than any other, is kind of fun to find that kind of stuff and do it. I don't really have a major problem with it. I think that it's just, you know, we've talked a little bit about it being, you know, written at a specific time. You know, I think that that a scene with girls rating guys as they're walking out just is not as charged for whatever reason as if it was reversed. But I do think that it's interesting to find those in the show and do that. I mean, in general, the show does take a lot of what is often given to men, to male characters in television shows, and giving it to these very strong female characters. So that might also be a bit of a conscious choice, you know, that they want to take some of those very common scenes and just flip them for you and show you what they look like from the other angle. I don't know.
That was the sign of the times with the show. Yeah, it definitely makes you go, oh, 2000. But I did wonder, like when I would rewatch that scene, like if men had a problem with it and they like bring that up as a reason on why Gilmore Girls is a quote unquote girly show, because, you know, they're rating men like in this one scene. And I thought that, you know, men being upset with women rating them and stuff would come up when that one dating app, Lulu, came out when I was in college, but it just didn't come up. Like, I just didn't really hear much about it, or just didn't get like a lot of traction. So me and my friends just kind of treated it as a, you know, a fun merry time joke. I don't know, it was fun, but yeah, I always wonder.
I just wonder if the writers were conscious of the fact that they're objectifying men, and they were like, yeah, we're going to do that because we see that all the time on television. Except women, it's women that are being objectified. So that's part of what we're doing here. Like we're making that statement, you know?
Yeah. I totally think that. And I think even they admit it in the writing sometimes where the girls are teasing one another and like, well, you guys do it to us, so we're going to do it to you. Like I honestly, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I don't bring it up as something that I find offensive, but I just think it's something that, you know, because of the datedness of the show, it's something that kind of catches my mind as, you know, the scene goes on.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like I said, I don't think I would have noticed as much of this stuff if I wasn't watching with all of you. Like, you know, like I mentioned in the last episode where Lorelai and Luke are having that little talk on the stairs, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was like a little kind of gay joke that was done there at the very end. Was I right about that? Yeah. I don't think that I would note. I don't think I would have noticed that kind of stuff. Like now I'm picking it up. Like I noticed that about the men tonight and whatnot. Like I'm picking up things that I don't think, certainly back in 2000, you know, in the early 2000s, people were not picking that stuff up. So if they were putting that stuff in deliberately, you know, I don't know why they would put in the you know, the gay jokes in deliberately, other than they thought that it was funny. But like if they were putting in even some of this stuff where they're like kind of objectifying men and they were like deliberate about it, like, yeah, this happens all the time. We see it with women. We're going to do it with men. I don't know if they thought that a lot of people would get that, you know, because I don't know if that would have jumped out at me back in 2000 and whatever, 4 or whatnot that this was.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
I think had they been that deliberate with it, they might have even had the girls like keeping their heads out and like whistling at them. I mean, if they were really trying to make like a scene out of it, they could have extended it a little deeper, I think.
Right.
It was fun and meant to like bond the girls and just kind of be silly. I definitely didn't think about it anything when I first watched it.
Yeah, I think tone is really important. Like, and the tone really is slumber party, fun, like really lighthearted, and not. Jess, was that you who just said, you know, like the whistling and stuff like that would have been like a total that would have been a totally different tone. But the tone is really light and fun, and like, you know, the the delivery guy, his look is kind of part of the overall experience of the delivery of it in and of itself. Like the food plus the guy plus the, you know, like it all has to kind of be part of the same package to get a good rating. So I don't know. I think the tone is important.
Would you say that scene is realistic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
done that.
Yes, sir. It is.
Like
I could like honestly watching that scene, like I really wish like that was my first night at college, like with like a bunch of girls like hanging out, getting takeout, rating the delivery guys. Like I think that would have been really, really fun. And I definitely am not here for objectifying anybody, but like that would have been funny, I think.
So realistic, meaning what you're saying is that happens, like, you know, we girls do that, but we rarely see that kind of thing on television.
True.
Yeah, which is why it's deliberate.
Yeah.
So you're right, Mary. You're right. That's exactly it. That's sort of what I was getting at. When I say deliberate, I don't mean like, you know, we're trying to be political here. You know, I certainly don't mean that. I think that they were like this is a real thing that happens, and we're going to show it. Television loves to show the opposite version of that, which also of course happens. And this is a real thing.
I just want to say, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Just a quick thing is that like, so I currently moderate like a huge Discord with like 11,000 people in it for a YouTuber, and she's a female YouTuber, and like a lot of the people on the Discord are women, and there was like one whole week where like thousands of them on the Discord like changed their names to like Henry Cavill B-word or like Tom Holland B-word, and they were like rating the actors and, you know, like their butts and things like that. And I was like, oh wow, like it got pretty intense. It was, I mean, I found it like hilarious and entertaining, but like, yeah, like when I watched that scene, it's kind of like, oh, I can see how this could be problematic, but it's just so realistic that I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm just kind of like, this is realistic.
I mean, there are people who take it too far on both sides. Like, there have been times where I had to tell my girlfriend, that's a little much, let's cool it, right? So, but it is totally realistic, and it isn't. I can't remember what show, but I do remember one show someone was talking about how, I think it's How I Met Your Mother, when they were like, girls talk about that stuff? And it's like, yeah, like sizes and things like that. And they're like, you talk about that? All men do is just talk about, yeah, I have some. And they're like, no, you don't. And yes, we do, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a single mother and a sister. Like I grew up around women and around girls and my sister and her girlfriend. So I was aware of all this. I'm just sort of, you know, making a point that I agree with you, Mary, that like, you know, I think that they were conscious of that.
Wait, John, your mom and sister talked about that around you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, what do you mean? Talked about what? Like my sister. I mean, you know, I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
like, not like, no, not like anything crude, but like, I could.
It was like mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I could see that, like, my sister had girlfriends and they hung out, and I could just, they were interested in boys, and they talked about boys, and they objectified boys, in that way. Like, I guess you sort of see it or hear it just by being close enough to it, but yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that, like, that scene seemed realistic to me because I feel like I've seen women in my life behave that way.
Okay. Yeah, I think I probably would have been exposed to that as well if my mom was open to having people at our house. She wouldn't even let like a fly in the house. So,
oh, really? Oh no!
Oh,
like my
wow,
sister
yeah.
had my sister had like slumber parties and and had her friends over all the time. So I and my sister was also a dancer, so she like had a lot of friends. Like that whole like dancer clique is very specific.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like nice to hear your experience, because I think you're like the first guy that I have met who has been raised by a single mother and had an older sister. Because I'm like, well, the only other person I know what that means.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
It's like
I know a
fascinating.
few. I know a few. I mean, some of my really good friends were raised by their moms.
And they had an older sister too.
I have a friend who had, well, and my sister's younger, by the way. One year younger. So we're like, I mean, really, really close in age, younger. So we're kind of like the closest to being twins that you can get. But I have a friend who, he was raised by his single mother, and he has a few siblings. One of them is a sister. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the raised by single mothers kind of, that's something from my generation. I feel like I knew quite a lot of kids who had divorced parents. Is that not common in this room? I mean, I'm a child of
I don't really know.
My best friend, Brian Fuller, he was raised by his single mom, and he has two older sisters and a younger sister, and I think I saw that a lot in my community.
I saw it a lot growing up. I mean, in Miami, in the suburbs of Miami, there were there were plenty of kids who had a single mom.
Yeah, in New York, where I grew up, there was a lot of single parents. I mean, my parents were together until my mom passed, but a lot of the kids in the neighborhood raised by single parents.
Yeah, I think I even mentioned during the episode where Rory is talking about really wanting Christopher back in their life, and how she's, like kind of pleading with Lorelais, about like, can't you make it work, and and all that kind of stuff. Like, I remember feeling that way. Like, I remember feeling like, why can't my mom and dad like go over whatever it is, and I could have like a family like other kids had, that with a mom and dad. But I didn't really ever feel like I was unique. I felt like there were other kids in my school that were like also raised by their single mom. And I grew up in like, the suburbs, just not really like, like middle class.
Yeah, I found out that was a very common thing from television in my teens when I started watching live action American shows, because where I grew up, everyone that I noticed or like who would talk about their parents and stuff, they had parents and their parents were together. And then when I would like mention, oh yeah, like my dad's in a different continent, and they'd be like, oh my God, did you just leave your mom? Are they divorced? I'm like, no, he just went back home. But they would be so shocked. But yeah, like I got older, and then like when I kind of sprawled out of the hometown and started meeting other people from suburbs, like that's when I started to meet like, the divorced kids. I was like, oh my God, it's common. Okay. All right, it's common to be raised by like a single parent. So I always thought that was nice. It made it easier to connect with people.
I'm actually gonna jump off. This was really cool. I really loved the episode. I'm excited for what's to come with this storyline, and Yale. I'm guessing that we'll get more of it tomorrow.
Yale is so fun. The Yale episode, the college years.
I love it.
Shelley, did you say your friend's name was Brian Fuller? Like the character's name? Yeah, he's my best friend since we were in second grade, and he grew up like right down the street from me, and we could like take our cordless phones out in our front yards and talk to each other. But yeah, he's I've been trying to get him to come join us. He lives in New York City now, so I don't see him. Or actually, he works in New York City now. He lives in New Jersey because he just moved, bought a new house. But I don't see him very often, or only sporadically text him anymore. He's just busy.
Then there's also Brian Fuller, the writer. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that guy.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, is it like Brian Fuller, the writer?
Yeah, I think that Brian Fuller, my character, is named after Brian Fuller, the writer, or loosely based off of Brian Fuller, the writer.
Team Brian.
Team Brian. Has anybody watched this movie Fatherhood yet?
Is that the one with
No.
Ethan Hawke?
No, but
Not
it's on
yet.
the watch list.
It's is out yet?
Is it out yet?
I just keep seeing pictures of it
I
on my
think
Netflix going by.
I don't know. I think it's coming out this weekend, isn't it? I don't know.
I don't think it's available
like
yet.
on Father's Day.
It just looks like you need a few boxes of tissues for that. The trailer looks just heartbreaking.
I just wanted to share some happy news if I could quick. I'm going to head off, but I will be off for the next 10 days because I'm going on my bucket list 40th birthday trip. But my travel on bag is my Copper Boom tote bag. And so I will be bringing a piece of the girls with me.
Nice.
Enjoy your trip.
Copper Boom. Copper Boom.
Travel. Copper Boom.
Copper Boom.
Where are you going? Bora Bora. For Water Bungalow. Wow.
Oh,
Can I go to the band? I've been waiting for this day for 39 days and 39 years and 364 days. Let's go with that. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Can't wait. Thank you.
I want you
Have fun. Take pictures. Post them online.
I'll post a Copper Boom bag right in front of the Mount Antonuo. Woo!
Love it.
Yay!
All right, I'm gonna hop off. I will see everyone or hear everyone tomorrow at 7, or hopefully most of you. I'll probably drop a hint on that Cat Scratch Memento password tomorrow. And like I said, we've got some fun folks that will be joining us over the next week or two.
Yay!
Woo!
For doing that. So,
What's up?
I said thanks for doing that.
Of course. Of course. All right. Talk to you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks again.
Copper Boom.
Thanks for hosting.
Copper Boom.
Good night.
Copper Boom.
Copper Boom.